You can enjoy running injury-free this summer by taking a closer look at what your body might be telling you. Here with me is Jared Beckstrand. He's a physical therapist and an avid runner to give us a couple tips to hitting the pavement without having any of that pain. You say like about 50% of runners out there will experience some kind of injury during their running career?
Oh, that's correct. You know, Utah is typically a very active state. You know, everyone here likes to be outdoor skiing, mountain biking, and especially running. It's interesting to note that actually 50% of recreational runners will experience at least some sort of injury annually while they're running. If you're training for a marathon, it's actually really interesting. That number jumps as high as 90%. So keep that in line. You know, next time you're at the starting line with those who are there with you, 9 out of 10 of you have experienced at least some type of injury just to get there, just to get to the starting line.
Here's my problem. I started running like whatever, a year and a half ago. I just get on the treadmill and run and just think that's all I need to do. That running is its own running. That's all. Do I need to do anything aside from that?
Completely. And yeah, that's a huge misconception that a lot of runners have is, you know, I'm training for this upcoming race, I'm training for this upcoming marathon, all I have to do is run. If you're not addressing the weakness, if you're not addressing strength, if you're not addressing range of motion, if you're not addressing other issues that go into running, your body is going to hurt. It's a repetitive, it's a high impact activity that if you're not taking the proper steps to strengthen yourself, to be strong, you're more than likely going to hurt while you're running.
Jared has nailed down the top 5 injuries, the most common injuries that people see every day when you're running, ones that you see in your practice as well.
Completely.
Let me start with runner's knee, which I have had that pain time or two in my life. What's happening when you're having runner's knee?
And so, I mean, named that way and rightfully so. What happens with runner's knee is that you've got a small muscle on the outside of your hip where the tendon comes down and actually crosses over the outside part of your hip. You can see from that is not the right picture. With runner's knee, that small tendon crosses the outside of your hip. What happens is your knee flexes and extends. It creates a lot of friction in that area, right on the outside part of your knee.
It's that repetitive motion right here, and it's this thing right here.
You're exactly right.
Okay, so if you have runner's knee, if you run into that problem, anything you can do to overcome that?
Oh, completely. We have a foam roll. Anyone who runs is familiar with a foam roll. It's going to be the runner's best friend. We have Mark Anderson here with us, and he's demonstrating what we call the IT band foam roll stretch. So you just start right up at your hip. You're going to lay that foam roll down right on the outside of your knee, and you just basically run the foam roll that whole length of the IT band there on the outside of your hip. You're just trying to free it up. You're trying to make it looser so that, you know, it doesn't cause as much friction at the knee as your knee flexes.
So the problem is in my knee, I really need to be working more on the upper part of my leg. It's going to be where the problem is solved there.
You're exactly right.
Okay, next complaint I hear a lot of people, it's the shin splints, that pain like in the front of your shin.
Everyone gets shin splints.
Yeah, what causes that?
Right. And so what that is most of the time that is actually the way that your foot hits the ground that's causing that. And so shin splints, there's a muscle right on the front side of your leg that it's called the anterior tibialis. And what happens, it's just a type of tendinitis that as you run, as you go through those repetitive motions, it just gets irritated, it just gets grumpy. A lot of times, again, it's just because of the way that your foot is hitting the ground.
Okay, so if I'm having that problem and that pain in the shin, anything I can do? What can I do? Strength exercise or something?
Oh, completely. And so a good stretch to mitigate those effects is the stretch that Mark's showing right now. We call that the anterior tibialis stretch, or you know, the layman's term is the shin splint stretch. You're just trying to stretch the muscles on the front of your leg, trying to make them as long as possible. You should feel that right above your ankle. If you're super tight, it's going to go all the way up, almost just below your knee also.
Okay, the next one is pain in your kneecap. This is not the same as runner's knee though, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and so patellofemoral pain is a different entity altogether. What happens is
the pain in the knee, is that more on the side of the knee?
Exactly. So
the kneecap is right on the kneecap.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the IT band pain you're going to feel on the outside of your knee. Here we have so that's going to be, I believe that's the IT band picture that we're looking at right there. So the patellofemoral tracking problem excuse me, the femur comes down, terminates into 2 large balls. Basically, your kneecap isn't riding in a groove the way that it should. Most of the time caused by lateral hip or outside of the hip tightness. And so what Mark's demonstrating here is a good stretch to stretch the outside part of your leg. Just you know, hooking your leg over, or hooking your foot over your affected leg, just to stretch the outside part of your leg, promoting a more natural tracking pattern with the kneecap.
Okay, I know sometimes you have foot pain.
Completely.
Might be caused by the shoe that you're wearing or something, but there's that pain in the foot.
You're
what
exactly
can you
right.
do there?
And so the foot pain, that's typically referred to as plantar fasciitis. And so what's happening there is there's a big strong ligament on the bottom side of your foot that basically adds stability to the foot. And when that gets grumpy and painful, it's going to let you know about it. Here you see that each time you put your foot down and take a step, it stretches that plantar fascia ligament. And so that's what gets grumpy, that's what gets irritated, that's what causes your foot pain on the bottom of your foot.
So how can I turn grumpy into happy there?
Turning grumpy into happy. And so one thing that you need to remember with this, though, we don't want to stretch an already grumpy plantar fasciitis. And so what Mark's showing us here is a stretch that you would do after it's settled down a little bit. It's important that you don't stretch it while it's in its inflamed and irritated state. This is something that you should do before your run, and then maybe later that night after the pain from the run has settled down.
It's good information for any of you who out there might want to do some running. We've got all these exercises and more on our website, including if you have some hip pain, got a little exercise that'll help you there. All on the Studio 5 website. Jared, thanks for stopping in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You'll be pain-free this summer, and we'll be right back with a summer treat giveaway.